Hello, and welcome to Mentoring Mondays podcast. Today, we are talking all about the number one most requested skin condition, which is rosacea. My name is Sarah Robbins. I am the Director of Education here at GlyMed, and I am joined today by
Tracy Kimball, and I am a master esthetician and work for GlyMed as a national educator.
which, don't we have like the best job in the world?
I really think we do.
Yeah, we are so lucky. In today's podcast, I just want to clarify a few things. As estheticians, we are not able to diagnose our clients. That is out of our scope of practice. So even if you know without a shadow of a doubt that your client has rosacea, you cannot tell them that they have rosacea unless a physician or doctor has diagnosed them. However, we suggest that when you're doing your consultations with a client with rosacea, that you refer to it as vascular damage, because then you're staying within your scope. The other thing I want to say is that this podcast is going to cover more of the unique topics about rosacea. It won't have everything. However, we do have so much material and content on our website. So I would refer to you to go there after listening to this podcast. We have webinars, infographics, blog posts. We even have protocols and regimens all geared towards rosacea. So if you want more information, go to our website. All right, Tracy, you ready to jump into this?
I'm ready.
I have my hot coffee with me today. What are you sipping on?
I have my Diet Coke, but I'm sure that it is happy hour somewhere in the world. So drink up and cheers.
Cheers. Okay. Why don't we start with the number one question that we get asked, which is who is affected by rosacea?
It's a really great question. And it's one of genetics and also if you're just predisposed to it. Oftentimes, you'll see rosacea in your clients that have a fair Fitzpatrick. They are lighter skinned. They've got blue eyes, blonde hair, just really that more Celtic background.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's rare for a deeper Fitzpatrick to have rosacea.
Right.
Not to say that they don't get it, but you definitely see it more in your lighter Fitzpatricks or your fairer complexions, which I think is so interesting.
It is. And also, it's good to realize too that oftentimes you won't see it in children.
Mm-hmm.
And that is generally because they don't really have sebum and oil that's being produced on their skin. You will see it occasionally, but really it's mostly geared towards someone that's between 30 and 50 is when they're going to start seeing rosacea symptoms.
Yeah, and I think women typically are more common to get rosacea, but if men get it, they usually will get a more severe subtype.
Right, which I guess is kind of justice for the fact that they produce more elastin and collagen, right?
Yeah, right. That's what they get. Also, I think it's estimated that there's like 16 million Americans who have rosacea, and then 415 million worldwide suffer from this skin condition.
So it really is a common condition. It's something that you will see in your practice at one point or another. Mm-hmm. So it's really good to understand it and be aware of what causes it and also how you can treat it.
But you know what's so funny? Even though it is so common, I read actually that about 95% of individuals who have rosacea don't even realize that they have it.
That's right. It's interesting because the condition is actually often mistaken for acne or just sensitive skin.
Yeah.
When someone, though, has acne, they're going to have a large number of open and closed comedones, those whiteheads and blackheads. Mm-hmm. But with someone with rosacea that also has acne, you're not going to see nearly as many blackheads and whiteheads.
Right. Yeah. It's more of those papular, pustular lesions that are on the skin.
Yes.
And, you know, I think another thing is there are different severity levels referred to as like subtypes. And I think maybe a lot of people have the mild subtype and just don't realize that it's actually rosacea and not just a sensitivity.
That's
So,
probably true. However, you do need to realize that if it goes untreated, it can get to a more severe form or subtype, and it eventually could be disfiguring to the face as well.
right. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And that's something that I think a lot of people don't realize is that rosacea isn't something that you're going to grow out of. This isn't going to go away on its own. It needs to be managed, and it can be managed.
Yes, it can. There is no cure, like we said, but the way that you treat rosacea is that you treat the symptoms.
Mm-hmm. Or um, the symptoms. And I think this can be such a tricky skin condition just because there's not a lot that's known about it. There's no hard evidence. There's a lot of theories and speculation. And so, as long as you're addressing what we believe to be contributors, that will help to manage the effects of rosacea or the symptoms, like you're saying.
Right. Do you know what the one of the biggest contributors is?
What?
It's the Demodex or the Demodex mite.
Mm-hmm.
There are 65 species or types of the mite.
Uh-huh.
Pretty amazing, but there's only two that live on the human skin, thank goodness. And those
So
are the
gross.
Demodex follicularum and the Demodex brevis.
Yeah, still gross. Well, in addition to, that's crazy that there's 65 different species. Thankfully, only two live on us. But Tracy, do you know how many mites in general there are on 1 square inch of skin?
I think 20 million, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is really, honestly, just kind of makes your skin crawl, literally, right?
Right. Yeah, that is perfect. Literally, our skin's crawling. And um, I'm sure everyone, if you're not familiar with the Demodex mite, you're going to go look it up. And we're just going to warn you now not to do that.
Yes, traumatizing.
It's disgusting.
But we warned them, Sarah.
Yeah, we warned you. There's a reason we use cartoons in our education.
Exactly. But along with those Demodex mites, they are more present, or there's a greater number of Demodex mites on someone with rosacea. So they generally have about 10 times more of this mite than someone that just has normal skin. And it's interesting because with that Demodex mite, they are actually feeding on the sebum and the dead skin cells. So that is something that needs to be addressed as you are treating those symptoms.
And specifically with that Demodex feeding on the oil and dead skin cells, it also is producing a bacteria, and this bacteria also activates an enzyme that's on the skin and made by the mite called lipase. And lipase actually is what's breaking down that oil and dead skin cells. And then in that process, it also is the tripwire for inflammation. It actually heats the skin up to 99 degrees Fahrenheit.
It's
So
that's understandable then why someone with rosacea would have vascular damage.
exactly. Yep. Yep.
It's interesting. The other contributor to the rosacea condition is the sun.
Mm. Yeah, UV rays are very damaging to the skin in general, but
Right.
even more so to someone with rosacea. And um, the sun creates, I mean, anyone that has a Lyta Fitzpatrick is more sensitive to the sun, right? They don't make as much melanin, so they burn easily, they get easily flushed and heat and anything like that. But the main thing is that UV rays actually stimulate a protein in the skin to actually make more blood vessels. And this is a process that is called the vascular endothelial growth factor, or VEGF. And it's triggered by UV rays. So especially rosacea clients should be using SPF all the time, every time that they're outside.
Agreed. someone that is sensitive like that and has that damage to the skin, those blood vessels will actually react differently in the skin than they would with someone without rosacea.
Mm-hmm. Well, since there's more blood vessels, there's more risk for vascular damage, right?
Right.
And then combine that with that infestation of the Demodex mite, it's just a whole cocktail or recipe for disaster.
Right. And that's why we have inflammation also, that's a condition that you need to treat when you have someone with rosacea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Inflammation is very damaging to the skin in general, but especially for rosacea clients. And the reason is that inflammation is part of your body's immune system. It goes out and targets any foreign invaders or anything that's not supposed to be there. But in the process, when inflammation is present, it actually spreads your skin cells apart. And when this happens, it allows pathways and openings into the skin that normally wouldn't be there. So bacteria, pathogens, and even allergens can more easily enter the skin. Also, when these cells spread apart because of the inflammation, it makes it so that we have a higher risk of transepidermal water loss. And our water content in the skin is more easily evaporated out. And so anyone that has rosacea automatically has a defective moisture barrier.
It's interesting. Okay, so along with that, that condition of inflammation repeatedly happening, that skin gets dried out often. And
Mm-hmm.
someone with dry skin is going to itch. They're going to scratch their face. We know that the fingernails carry so much bacteria. So again, they're scratching their face and introducing that bacteria back into the skin.
Right.
So it's important that you get that barrier function in a healthy state.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I bet all of our nail techs were cringing when you were talking about how our fingernails are one of the dirtiest places on our body.
It's true. It's so sad, but it is true.
So true. Yeah. Tracy, so what should estheticians do for our clients for someone who has rosacea?
Probably the main thing is you want to hit the symptoms, like we were saying. One of those symptoms being oil in the skin, you would want to use products that actually help to break down your oil and absorb it. Things like salicylic acid are fantastic for someone with rosacea.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a couple of different cleansers that we use for someone with rosacea. One would be the Sal X Purifying Cleanser. And this is great for someone that doesn't have those open, or excuse me, that has open comedones, open lesions. And then the other is the Sal X Exfoliating Cleanser, which is great for someone with that grade 1 or 2 acne-like conditions. So something that isn't an open lesion.
Yeah, and these cleansers have a low percentage of salicylic acid. I think everyone is really surprised to hear that AHAs and BHAs are actually very beneficial for rosacea because they tend to have a little bit more of a spicy activity. And someone who has rosacea tends to be more sensitive already. And so we're not saying go out and use high percentages of AHAs and BHAs. That's not at all what we mean.
Exactly.
Start with small percentages, and cleansers are a great place to start because they're not going to be nearly as active or potent as like serums and moisturizers. So cleansers are a good way to start with your actives, and then make sure the rest of their home care products are going to be more of that barrier repair. So things that have like ceramides, lipids, fatty acids, all those ingredients are needed and required by the skin to be healthy, and they're missing in someone who has rosacea because that barrier is intact or compromised. So
That's true. I like that you said that, because I think oftentimes people think, oh, if they're going to put an AHA or a BHA on their skin, it seems counterintuitive, but really we're trying to absorb that oil. We're also trying to break down any of the dead skin cells and get that exfoliation going. And any of this is actually a very gentle form. So gentle exfoliation. We don't want to go in and just start scrubbing the skin and really causing more damage than is already present. We want to make sure we're starting at a very gentle level.
Yeah, I love that you say gentle because I know Tracy, you and I, our biggest recommendations for exfoliation with rosacea is going to be your chemical exfoliation, things like AHAs and BHAs, or enzymes. We rarely will recommend a mechanical or physical exfoliator.
Right, right. The other thing like you were saying, is you do want to make sure that barrier is rebuilt. Some of the products that are doing that would be your Daily Repair Mega Moisture Cream. It's fantastic. And then also your,
Cell protection serum.
yes, your cell protection serum. And then even things like your Intense Peptide would be a fantastic product. Anything that's going to help rebuild it. Once it is to that more healthy state, you can go in with a little bit higher AHA for your exfoliation, but again, you're still saying gentle.
Yeah. And I don't think we touched on why like AHA specifically are so beneficial, but I'm just going to go ahead and throw that out now. AHAs, ingredients like glycolic, lactic, and malic acid, are very beneficial for rosacea. Glycolic specifically, because that lipase enzyme that's being stimulated by that demodexamide, um, that glycolic actually helps to stop that lipase enzyme from actually triggering that heat in the skin. So we're helping to remove the tripwire for inflammation. Um, Glycolic also, and all AHAs in general, they all help with activating what's called your lamellar bodies in the skin. And we call these water babies at GlyMed Plus. And so they are actually helping your skin to stimulate more water content, which is missing in someone who has rosacea.
Right. Now, let's list some of the don'ts, because someone with rosacea can really help with the symptoms by avoiding certain things. There are certain foods that would trigger inflammation and flare-ups. Things like avocados, alcoholic beverages, hot beverages. Can you name any others?
Uh, yeah, anything that's hot temperature wise, spicy foods, and even your skincare ingredients that have like a high alcohol level in them, or even some of your essential oils, things like peppermint, eucalyptus, they can have more of like an icy hot feeling and can be too stimulating. But Tracy, you actually said avocados as a trigger. And do you just want to touch on why like it's not always just processed or fast food that's bad for
Yes, it's
rosacea?
interesting because it's foods with histamines, high in histamines, things that are actually going to in, inflame the skin naturally. So it
Right.
is some of those more healthy, if you will, foods. It isn't always the fast foods that you would think of.
I mean, they're still bad, and we're not saying that your client can never have these foods, but everything in moderation, right?
Exactly. Another big one is fragrances. Oftentimes will be irritating to the skin. So your products that contain fragrances are going to irritate that sensitive skin.
Yeah, and that could be anything. That could be, of course, your skincare, your soaps, your shampoos, but even your laundry detergent is a big trigger.
You're right. So those are the main things. So our main goal with rosacea is, one, to control the demodexamide, and two, to repair the barrier. And then I also want to add, with not just your rosacea clients, but with all of your clients, you should be encouraging and almost over encouraging them to use SPF in their home care regimen.
Absolutely. And I just want to say my biggest tip for caring for someone with rosacea is stressing that your client is using and is committed to using a effective home care regimen, or on a really great home care regimen. And this needs to include active and repairing ingredients. 80% of their results are going to come from their home care products. And then the other 20% is going to be the magic that we do in the treatment room. But this is a skin condition that your client is living with, and so they have to be using good products at home.
I love that. We have online, as part of our services for our estheticians, is what's called our Regen store. If you don't have a Regen store, it's very easy to set up, but this is a place where your clients can actually come and purchase the products that you're recommending for their treatment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's so easy because we have filters. They can even shop our kits, and we have a rosacea kit. So if someone just wants to get started and try out everything we would recommend, they can totally do that.
Yes. If you are interested in getting a store, which I highly recommend for any of your clients, but especially with your rosacea clients, that store can be set up very quickly. You can contact your account manager or your business coordinator, and they can help you with that.
Absolutely. Tracy, is there anything we forgot to say about rosacea today?
I'm not sure if there is. What can you think of?
I think we covered it. If you guys want more information, please check out our website. I actually just want to close this podcast with my favorite quote, and I'm going to share it with everyone. The author is unknown, but I share it with my clients, and I just think it speaks volumes to what we need to be doing with our clients. And it is, beautiful skin requires commitment, not a miracle.
So true. Thanks for sharing that.
Of course. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we will see you on our next podcast. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye-bye.